One and a two and a three. Long box punk. Long box punk. Long box punk. Long box punk.
And just like that, we're here with a brand new live stream here on the Long Box Punk. That's me. I'm Chris. I am the punk, and I am joined by Donal. I'm doing the correct pronunciation here. Thoms-Cappello. Donal, thanks so much for hanging out with me on a Sunday, making time in between all of the things that you have happening.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And no better thing to do on a Sunday morning
Right?
than
And I
have
love
fun
that it's
punk.
morning for you because it's like after
yeah.
lunchtime for me, and it's just a reminder of how small the world really is. Feeling philosophical on this Sunday. So we're here to talk about Powerscape, but before we get into Powerscape and your comic and creating and writing and all of the things and acting, I think I saw an IMDb credit that you were on Legends of Tomorrow. We'll get
Yeah,
into all sorts of stuff. There's so much that we're going to get into, but first, it's a comic book show, and so I got to know what your origin story is. Like, how did you get into comics with everything else that you've done? Like, where did all this come from?
uh, thank you for that question. That's I started really. Honestly, comics is kind of the first medium that, obviously in our age range, not giving away my age too much. Comics is like the first medium I really kind of came out of my shell for. I think I was in vacation on Ogunquit, Maine, and I caught some issue of Captain America on the stands, and my mom was just wanted me to, like, stop asking questions. It was like, here, read that. And like I was definitely hooked. I was hooked on 1989's Batman, whole deal, right? Had some giant book I got for Christmas on Batman, and learned all that lore. And I got really into in high school when I was like just brooding and angry, and I grew up in rural suburban New Jersey, and and I was very the comic stores were kind of tucked away in a lot of different places there back in the day, and I slowly discovered Vertigo, and I was really into this was a little later actually after high school, but I was into like 100 Bullets, and I really started latching on to slow building epics, and just slow building, world building, but also world building that starts very simple and starts to go into like 100 Bullets is always the one that strikes me, comes out of my head
Yeah.
about, like, the kind of the potential comics have for immersion. And I was hooked. But like in my teenage years, like once I got out of high school, I studied acting, and I studied at the conservatory at Rutgers at Mason Gross. And I said, I'm name dropping now, like, I studied with Sebastian Stan, and this, it's part of that whole world there, and
Okay.
hardcore Meisner kind of work. And that was the kind of life where they're like, you can't do anything else. The typical conservatory stuff where they kind of separate, the musicians are over here and the dancers are here and the actors are here, and never they shall ever meet.
Yeah.
And it made me sort of peel away from comic books for a while, and comics became more like a comfort food. And it really hasn't been into, but around 2002, 2003, this idea for this comic book started just kind of popping in my head. I was studying in London at the Globe Theater, and I don't know, you step outside of your country and you start like analyzing everything that you come from the
Yeah.
outside. and yeah, and it came out in my head through comic book, through a comic book story. And I started writing it out in notebooks and stuff, in between, like, all this like insane Shakespeare, like classical training we were doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, which is so, it's very strange. It's really, it's interesting how like one feeds the other, right? Which I was, yeah, was sort of the message I was. I think conservatories these days are a little better at integrating stuff more, because I think, that's actually the way inspiration works, and that's actually the way our art and expression works, right? We take from one medium and
Yeah.
we do it in another one. And so I started writing this like crazy, and then but then I went to New York, and I booked a couple shows, and I got just off to the races for your acting career, and I just stopped thinking about comics altogether. And I think it wasn't until I was just just massive depression in Los Angeles like 10 years later or something that I started just going back to my life, before acting and things like
Mm.
that, and reading and stuff, and being like, oh, yeah, I had this whole story, and it was just carrying along with me forever. And it just finally became like a thing that, like Minerva coming, or Athena as like the spider in
Mm.
Zeus's head. It like won't leave until like someone
Yeah.
has to like crack his head open and it comes out. That's what this whole story's felt like. Just this like, okay, I've got to just put this out. I have to
Yeah.
just give birth to this thing, or it will drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
More crazier than I am. Yeah.
And that's definitely like, it's fascinating to me hearing other writers talk about stories that they carried with them for years or decades, even some point. Um, because that's the similar feel of like, this story wouldn't leave me alone. These characters kept popping
Yeah.
up. They kept like, they wouldn't let me just leave them in the past. And it just, every time I hear that, because I don't have that story that's like, just hanging around in my head forever. The longest I sat on anything before doing anything with it was maybe like 8 months. And it was
Yeah.
just like, I got to figure out how to write this.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I hung on to
Yeah.
it. But
Well, that's because you're smarter than I am, Chris. That's why. That's I mean, like, yeah, you don't
I don't
wait
know about
20
that.
years.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
for me, like if I don't strike while the iron's hot, I'm just not going to strike. And
Yes.
so when I have that spark or that story or that whatever, it's like I'm an all or nothing person. And
Yeah.
so either my faucet is all the way on and I'm never not creating or writing or doing reading or whatever, or
Yeah.
I'm just not doing any of it. And I'm like
Yeah.
doom scrolling and sitting on my phone and doing
Yeah.
none of the things that are helpful at all for me. And
Exactly.
like, that's just how I've always been. But I can't move forward without at least address it. You studied at the Globe? What the heck, dude? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Globe
a,
Theater. Yeah.
I don't have a bucket list per se, but like if I
Yeah.
did, so I guess I kind of do, I want to go see a show at the Globe because like, hello, what was that like?
I mean, it was definitely pretty special, and you knew it was special. And the British quarter of acting it was a great compliment to what we were studying, in America, because a lot of American technique is like inside out, and the
Mhm.
British are very, just do the gesture and the emotion will carry.
Yeah.
And you don't believe it, and then you do it, and you're like, oh my God, and my favorite was, the Shakespearean, like, text work that I did was, we were very fortunate because the Globe itself is a, fantastic institution, but they also brought in this guy who kind of was like, um, his name was Rob Clare. He was a little different. He had a different philosophy than them, and there were certain things that he brought that were like these intangibles that he was like, he was an actor. He was one of you. He would like
Mm,
he would be very globish, the way he would carry himself, and he
yeah.
would just kind of he would bark this and that. But he was the one to really get me to understand that Shakespeare has written this entire emotional arc in the syntax of the grammar, and your
Mm,
job is to just do that and leave yourself alone and leave everything alone and really manage your breath control in this otherworldly way. You have to basically, it's more akin to being an opera singer,
yeah.
that you have to like you have to understand where to breathe and where not to. And there's moments where he's like, you're not breathing for like these next 8 lines, and you're like, okay, and you have to just go. And it was crazy because I would get like lightheaded, and like at one point I almost fainted. I remember like a couple of us like would be like this, and they're like, oh yeah, that's very normal because your body's like learning how to like intake, like take it, you deal with more intake of oxygen, and like but less, less chances to breathe. And I was like, what?
That's
It's more
crazy.
yeah, it's more athletic than anything else, right?
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it was wonderful. It really was. And it was, yeah, you're surrounded by stories about, Shakespeare really understood power,
Hmm.
and he really understood status, and he understood the dynamics of he like there's I kind of agree with Dostoevsky. He does like concentrate too much on the upper classes, but it's
Mm,
because he
yeah.
knows how messed up they are, I think.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, and he's very,
Yeah.
and
Like
yeah,
there's a lot of broken and fractured rulers in a lot of his work. And so,
yeah,
like, yeah, he focused a lot on the upper class, but I don't think it was like he wasn't putting them on a pedestal of like, oh,
yeah.
if only we could be like, it was more the looking from the outside in of, oh gosh, yeah, they might be a ruler or an emperor or a king or whatever, but my
Mhm.
God, are they messed up?
Yeah, exactly. And he was very good at showing like, hey, congratulations, you got the crown. Now what? And
Yeah.
like showing how the psyche that's built to get the crown is not the same psyche that keeps the crown. And
Mm,
often that's what constantly trips up everybody. And I thought his stories are so good at that.
yeah.
And I try to make it a point to teach Shakespeare any chance I can, to younger people, because they're always like, it's boring, and I'm like, yeah, no, it is boring the way you learn it. Like the
Yeah.
way I learned it was boring when in high school. I was like, what is this nonsense? Because you're not really supposed to read it. You're supposed to hear it. You're
Yeah.
supposed to speak it, like the way in poetry. And you're supposed to watch it all come together, right? Yeah, and I think it's not lost on me that that was the era, that was the time period where this story started weaving out of me, because
Mm,
it was just this, just understanding how universal all that was, how you could even 700 years from now, like in my story, that it's probably the same stuff we're going through, right?
yeah.
Even if you take away all these other things we know as basic civilization, yeah.
Yeah. It's something that as I get further and further into, like I ended up studying like media aesthetics and all of that because my degree is in broadcasting. So I had to understand
Oh,
how things
nice.
come together, like how you compose things. And then I hate using words because Letterboxd has made all of that stuff snooty and I don't want to be snooty.
Mm,
So I don't talk about the aesthetics ever because that like no one understands what that word actually means in current
yeah.
context. And so like I just do that with story and with comics and with movies, and I can't turn it off. And so we'll be in a
Yeah.
movie and there'll be an incredible shot or camera move or something or transition. And I just like, I'll do the, oh, and I can't help it. And my wife every time is like, babe, seriously? Like, shut up. I'm like, that
Calm
was a
down.
really good transition. You don't get it. But I do that with
That's
story.
my partner too. Yeah. Yeah. She's like the touch on the knee, the whole like, please stop touch on the knee.
Yeah, they're like 3 pat, just like, "Okay, babe. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm." And I'm like, "Ah,
Yeah.
I did it again."
Yeah.
But
We're
I
just trying to be normal. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can we just eat the popcorn and enjoy the movie? Like, can we just do that, please? No, I am enjoying it. But, like, with story, the more that I think about it and also kinda try and deconstruct so that I can write better stories or more
Mhm.
impactful stories, I'm noticing more and more that we're really all telling the same puzzle. It's just
Mm,
how the pieces look and fit together are what change, but it's really all
100%. Yeah.
kind of the same, like historical stuff, present day
Yeah.
stuff, otherworldly stuff, futuristic stuff. Like it's all kind of just the human experience. And it
Yeah.
just like when you step that far out of it to then look back into what stories that you're enjoying. And I'm trying to figure out like, well, why do I enjoy this thing? Why are the X-Men always going to be my favorite superhero team and my favorite comics to read? And it's because of what they're dealing with that I resonated with when I was younger. And so now,
me too.
you know, like being, they look weird and people don't like them because they're weird. And I was a weird kid. And so if they could still save the world, maybe I could do something good too. And like, it doesn't matter that I'm weird because they were still heroes. So, okay, I'm just weird and I'll just be a hero too. Like, that's fine. Make fun of me if you want to, but like, I'm going to be the one that's thinking of stuff that you would never be able to think of because you're too busy thinking that I'm weird. So,
I also love them because I think I didn't know it when I was at an early age, but they were a response to the hyper individualistic like hero's journey stories that I grew up with, which I like them, but it's a true ensemble story with the X-Men. You can't really isolate one as this is the one, right? They were trying with Wolverine forever. And I'm like, look, I love Wolverine. Yeah, they still are. Yeah. And I love Wolverine, but I'm also like, no, you don't get it. Like this works because you have him with a Kitty Pryde, with a Scott, right, with a Jean, an obvious love triangle, but then you have this other he's fitting into these other people, and everyone can look at their own certain person and see a perspective, but really you're being carried along with all of them. I remember, I think the one I really loved the most was the issue when Magneto crashes the wedding, the Scott and Jean wedding, and with they debut the Acolytes, right, and Colossus's heel turn. That issue really stood out to me because they're fighting each other, but they're all really having a family argument more than anything, right? Yeah, they're at Thanksgiving yelling at the uncle. Yep. And I love that. I remember just being, like, as a young kid, I was like, wow, this is like, what's more important here is the philosophical debate they're having while they're fighting, right? Which was pretty cool. I can't remember who that was. That was in Claremont, right? Who was that?
I believe that was still during Claremont's run. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
if I had easier access,
not surprised.
Right. All of my favorite X-Men stories were Claremont.
Yeah,
which was cool because then I got to meet him and he signed my Wolverine #1, and I was like,
really,
man, you're just, and like the expo that we went to that he was at, I don't think they were ready for like the response to him because they just kind of had him like in a corner booth in one of the aisles, just like, yep, there's Chris Claremont. And so as a line formed, it was like down out the aisle, all the way down another aisle. And at one point he came out and like took a picture of like, take that, Stan Lee. Because he had just been, Stan had been at the expo the year before.
Yeah.
And it was his final like Midwest or this was the final appearance or whatever in this part of the country. I'm in Ohio, so like Midwest, that's the word that was escaping me. It was his final Midwest appearance. And, I met Stan Lee at that time and had him sign. I had this whole 30-second speech prepared to thank him for the X-Men and what that meant for my life. And all I could do when I got in front of him was speak idiot. And I just blurted out, thank you for the X-Men. And his handler person, because it was a well-oiled machine. I don't know if you ever met him, but they were literally, someone would give him the item. He would sign it. He would lean back, he would lean down, sign it, and they were just moving stuff. And so I had my book already in my hand, but I'm standing in front of him because they had the CGC people there to verify autographs and stuff for everybody that was reselling it. And I got it back and I was like, I need to say the thing. And so I just blurted out the thank you for the X-Men, and his handler guy was like, he didn't hear you. Hey, Stan, this kid just thanked you for the X-Men. And he like put his Sharpie down and looked at me and he was like, well, I wrote him just for you. And I was like, oh my God, you did? And I just like, everybody laughed at me and I was like, he wrote him for me. And I'm like,
walking away. And then you started an industry beef between him and Claremont. That's
yeah, and then I was there to hear Claremont say, take that, Stan Lee. And I was like, all right, cool.
Screw you. All right, Chris, let's go.
Yeah.
You want to know what pain? You want to know what real pain is? I'm Stanley. All right, I'm sorry. I don't know. I guess Stanley impression.
So the easy transition here into, so with all of the
Yeah.
studying of theater and Shakespeare and just like live theater performance storytelling,
Mhm.
did that influence how you wrote when it came to, like, were you already thinking, because you had read and been immersed with the theater stuff, the script format? Is that how
Yeah.
you thought when you were starting writing? Like, oh, well, that's how you write a story, is that format. So that's how, like, is that how your brain just naturally went?
No, the I think the only reason why this came out now, 20 years later, is the second half of my life has been the last 10 years moving to Canada, studying writing. As an actor, it's funny, like, you get better at it the more you let you let yourself go, you get out of your own way, you become egoless, and you also kind of become a good soldier, and you play 100% of whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
And then there's this, like, there's this other brain here that's like, this script kind of sucks, and like and like it's not, my biggest challenge as an actor growing up was, don't judge the text, and I'm at a place now where I don't judge the text, because everybody has their own passions and loves and stories, and I'm like, I think these days I see the value of, like, I don't care if it's a good story, bad story, incomplete story. Everybody has the right to tell them. So it wasn't until I stopped being an actor and I started really, like, not stopped. I mean, I still do it here and there, but like when I toggled into writing 100% to committing to that, that was tied to my immigration as well, to go to Canada and get my citizenship and stuff. I had to, like, 100% focus on it. And that's where I really started studying story structure and
Okay.
classical story structure and, nonlinear structure, and understanding how to do it, because I was like that person in a cafe, just like writing forever, but it would just be a lot of stuff. And I'd be like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
I was good at raw material making, but I didn't really know how to fashion it. And I finally hit a place with my own writing where I was like, I don't think I'm God's gift to writers or anything, but I was but I feel now competent enough to understand how to okay, how to step out of the passion itself, because you get so fun and excited, and you get so excited about how fun it is, that you forget you're the one who has to build it for other
Yeah.
people to be excited about, right? And treating it like Legos, like, okay, I'm going to put this here and here, and no, this should go like this,
Yeah.
and be more left-brained about it. And I think when that started happening, that's where it really opened up. That's when it was like, oh, okay, now I see the roots. Now I see, like, the threads. Now I see how they fit together. And now I feel like super confident. The acting part, I think the dialogue signals a lot of how the acting helped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a huge fan of, like, I love Carol Churchill's work as a playwright. I don't know if you're familiar with her,
I'm
but
not.
she's a British playwright, and she what am I thinking of? Top Girls, I think, is one of her famous plays. She has a
Okay.
lot of them. There's another one. Oh, a Number is such a good play. It's a Daniel Craig did it way back in the day as a young man, and it's about a father and a son, like, talk. It's just a father and a son for, like, the entire play,
Oh, wow.
but then, like, in the next scene they have, like, another conversation as if they haven't met, and you kind of start to learn that the father has cloned the son a number of times. And so
Oh,
every scene is a different it's a different son almost, right?
jeez.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Carol Churchill is brilliant. And and her dialogue is what's incredible, is that you could see it comes from the way acting interactions work, like the way pinch ouch, we used to call it, where, like, you're not thinking, you're reacting in your speech and your verbal communication. And I think a lot of my dialogue comes from that, for sure.
Okay.
uh
So take me into Powerscape. Like, I know you said you carried it with you for years.
yeah.
So when you started to sit down and actually put the pen to paper, or the the finger to the keys. I don't know what metaphor to use there. But when you actually started like writing it down and getting it in and turning it into a script, like what was that process like? Like how much of the story did you keep from that original idea versus the final product? Like how did all that happen?
Yeah, I kept a lot of it. I did change a few things, that over the years I just sort of accumulated different sort of ideas and understandings.
Mhm.
The main character being a refugee was sort of a new addition to it that I think really is what really unlocked it as the real story I wanted to tell.
Mm.
It's definitely a story that I try to fit into decolonization and um, the view of like what colonization really is, or post colonization as well, and how the major role of culture in colonization, and how like we we cling to the saying bread and circuses, to connote like when things are bad, this is kind of what you give to people to keep them
Mhm.
occupied and to keep you right. But also, bread and circuses are there to keep you, to organize you as well, and how your government, your decision making process in your society can be the bread and circuses. And I think specifically in America, I was never a football guy, but
Yeah.
but I'm well aware of the ritual of football in America, and how I think that's the one institution that it's like if everything starts to just like go the way of like, if we truly enter like Marshall McLuhan's Neolithic, like, yeah, we are the digital cavemen now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Football will be the town hall. Like, will be
Mm.
this is where we are this is where we all meet and gather, and this is what we all do for community, and therefore this will be our structures. And so I started from there, like, all right, well, what if everything really falls apart? Like, let's just say, the backdrop of the story is climate change has ravaged the planet. Everyone had to go underground for centuries because of how unbreathable the air is now, and how everything is, the weather is too radical. And there's this first contact with an alien species. There's this whole chapter that's not really recorded, but we meet this species and they gift us with the technology, and then they kind of go away and they say, you're part of our colony now, right? Or a
Yeah.
colonization system, right? And and the rules are like, we're going to give you this energy to keep a manufactured atmosphere to stay alive for your cities, but you have to prove, you have to create a system for distributing it, and of
Mm.
course humans choose competition. So in doing that, uh, uh, that the only way to keep everyone organized and going along with that is to do it in the form of the game,
Yeah.
of sports, of spectacle. And it's not just sports; it's sports and entertainment, kind of, everything combined. And it's gladiator games, right?
Yeah.
But with archetypes that form, the myth of this civilization. And because this is 700 years from now, this is all the 28th century. What would be the archetypes? And I thought, oh, it'd be superheroes. So they turn the players, they genetically make the players become superheroes, right?
Yeah.
Which is, yeah,
Which
which,
is a fun way to
sounds
do
fun.
that.
Yeah,
The
thank you.
conversation in that first issue of like, so what happened at like, what did you get? And
Oh
the
yeah,
main character, she's like, "Well, it did something to my hands." He's like,
yeah,
"Oh yeah, 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 sure. Oh, okay, yeah, that's cute." And like just kind of brushes past it, and then he goes right back to you got to get sponsorships.
yeah,
The
yeah.
obsession with the
Anyway, with
sponsorships.
the brands, yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yeah. So that's going to play a role too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a commentary on the absurdity of like, the corporatization of like the sports world, and how
Yeah.
every single space is marketable, and that's still going on for sure, right?
Mhm.
That's like hypercharged. The powers thing, yeah. Essentially, if you get recruited as a player as a young age, and you train and you train, and then the final stage is you jump into this thing called the shiver tank, and they do God knows what with you, and whatever comes out, you get a power, but no one predicts what the power is. And sometimes it's awful, sometimes it's useless, sometimes it actually like ravages your body and
Yeah.
there's no value to it. And then they just go, "Oh, sorry, it didn't work out," and you get rejected as a player. You have to
That'd
go
be
do something
awful.
else with your life. Yeah. And so, and the unpredictability of it is where I got that from is probably the story that influenced me the most. And this actually, I forgot to even tell you, like when I was 14 and I went to like summer camp one year, like ranch camp. Shout out to YMCA ranch camp in
Mm,
New Jersey. And yeah, I learned how I was riding horses and I was reading, like someone left a stack of these comic books of a comic book series called Strike Force Moratori. And
okay.
Strike Force Moratori, which was part of Shooter's like new universe
Okay.
jump thing he was trying to
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a very bizarre, like in its own closed kind of world, but a really, the first few issues are really good. And it's about like, yeah, they have to turn humans into metahumans in order to fight this alien like invasion. But they don't know what's going to come out. You don't know what the power is going to be
Mm,
when they put you through the process. And I loved that. I was like, oh, that's fun. Like,
yeah.
yeah, because that's kind of the same. I'm a basketball fan, and that is kind of what it is when you watch players develop. You just don't. Nobody knows where these what their potential really is, like what's going to
Yeah.
happen, right? And that's we connect to certain players, and then we watch them, and then it sucks when you see like, oh, they didn't really, that didn't work out the way we thought it was, or like, oh, I had no idea that person was going to be the it's great. And then we put all these expectations onto them and we worship them as these digital gods, right? Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And yeah, as you know, I'm sure media guy,
All
right?
all the
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
All the things.
I'm a big hockey person, and like it's funny to hear. Again, I'm all on or all off, and so
Mm,
once I got into hockey, it was like, well, I need to learn, the teams, and I need to learn the players, I need to learn the coaches, and I need to figure out how drafting works and all this other stuff. And so it was like when you like they start recruiting kids when they're some of them in high school still, of like, no,
mm,
that kid's going to be a star. Like they've got the speed, they've got the intensity, they've got the eye for the game, whatever. And so I do video work for a university nearby, and we cover hockey games. And they've
mm,
got a Russian kid that is expected to be the number one overall draft pick in the draft after this season ends. And so we every single home game have NFL scouts in the building, like in the arena, to watch this kid play. And so it's
mm,
awesome for me because I'm the one working the camera, recording all this stuff. But then you see the scouts just sitting there. They're always in all black. It's like, guys, you're not even blending in a little bit, but they look very serious and they all have the same clipboard and they're just
mm,
like constantly jotting notes. And I just
mm.
wonder, like, is this kid going to be the number one that goes and changes potentially an entire team when they get drafted? Like selfishly, can the Sabres get him because they need some help? But like
Yeah,
is one player enough to turn the tide of everything? And
yeah.
when you hear the announcers and broadcasters, even in like regular NHL games, they're talking about like, oh yeah, once McDavid joined Edmonton, the whole team changed, the whole dynamic changed, and suddenly
There are
they
those guys.
just
Yeah.
like now they're winning and they're really really good and they're consistently
Yep.
in the playoffs. And so it just I can't not help but think of it like, oh yeah, that is a lot of pressure for a single person to
Yeah.
have on
It's
them.
it's a lot of pressure, especially for a young person. And also, what I wonder is it actually helping?
Mm,
Is not necessarily expectations, but is the assumption of this is who you're going to be? Is that in some way holding back what the outcome is going to be?
oh,
Because like I'll go to Michael Jordan obviously as the guy
yeah.
that I was always like, right. Um, uh, and there's I'm of two minds because number one, Jordan definitely people thought he was really good coming out of college, but nobody expected him to become what he became.
Yeah.
And some of that might have been that he was left alone to just kind of develop himself
Yeah.
because nobody had any expectations for Chicago. Sidney Moncrief, Milwaukee Bucks. That's who everybody thought was going to become
Mm.
the people out the team out of the East. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting too granular. But the thing is, how much of it was him and how much of it was the context around him that he's coming up in the '80s when all of a sudden this mass commodification of like the sport starts to take shape.
Mhm.
He kind of rises up with like the Spike Lee era of culture, like of New Jack kind of culture that's sort of
Yeah.
like takes everybody by surprise. And he just was the kind of person who was so hyper like competitive that he fits that and he rides that, right? But I also want the dirty thing is we can't ignore the fact too that he did that the rules were changed to favor Michael. Like
Mm.
there were like there's these politics and things that go behind the scene that the players will activate and start because they're smart and they every incredible competitive player and team is at the end of the day they're like one step away from turning into like the 1919 Black Sox in my opinion. Like
Mm.
this is not a fixed game that's been given to us
Yeah.
by the aliens, which is kind of the point of the story, right? That even in something in this system like this, everybody is still playing. There's all this palace intrigue, and the executive coach, she has to hold together. She has to govern a city while while she's running the team
Yeah.
because the team is there for the city, and she has to project a lineup that actually fits certain like cultural needs as well. And
Mm.
so, and all of that factors into what happens on the field, even though everyone wants to pretend otherwise, right? It's this neutral, the field is this neutral playing space, the
Yeah.
playing field, right?
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick's whole thing at the NFL kind of, I think, is also influenced a lot of this for me. Because I
Mm.
think before that, I was still naive enough to kind of be like, well, I think everybody at the end of the day wants like the best product on the field. And then after that, I was like, oh no, they don't. No, okay. They'd
Huh.
rather Ryan Fitzpatrick throw 7 interceptions in a game, but talk about his kids' math skills. Like
Yeah.
I realized this is cultural. This is, right. This is more cultural than functional. And I think and even if like you're in a little dome where you need this energy atmosphere in the story to stay to stay strong.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you lose everything. Everybody dies, right? But
Yeah.
even there, people are gonna do the fuckery,
Yeah.
right? So, for
Yeah.
lack of
Shit's
a
always
better
gonna go
word,
off the
sorry,
rails.
sorry to cuss, sorry to
No.
cuss on a Sunday, everybody. My apologies.
No, reading it also reminded me, like I did a whole class on studying 70s cinema. And
Mm,
so like that sounds very
I love 70s
I
cinema.
love
Yeah,
it. I
speaking
love
my
it.
language. Yeah.
But the original Rollerball, like I couldn't not think of that reading Powerscape because it was like that's focused on a sport and the sport is the neutral ground and it's about the player making a statement against those that are manipulating the sport, like the
Yeah.
game, and trying to sell their story. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Nah, I just want to play the damn game. Like, leave us
Mm,
alone. You're
leave
killing
us
us."
alone. Yeah.
And
I've watched so many movies from the 70s and I never watched Rollerball and I
oh,
should have watched that. I
you
should have watched
gotta.
that. Paul Newman, right? That
Yeah.
Newman or Jay or
Yep.
Newman or yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I should have watched that. Yeah. That's great though. That's yeah, and that makes a lot of sense from that era, right? Because
Mhm.
I think that's the era where film wise we really get movies that are like so aware of the
Yeah.
system making the choices to override the culture and to
Yep.
override the point of yeah
Yeah. Look at,
of what they're
I
doing.
mean, Soylent Green, like all of the, um,
Mm,
a lot of Heston's movies are that like dystopian, and he's the one that's putting the flag down. Like, nope, we're not going any further,
yeah,
to
yeah,
expose all of this corporate nonsense. And I think maybe that helped shape some, like I'm realizing some things right now, like that might have kind of shaped some of how I see big corporations because I watched so many of those 70s movies where
yeah,
the big corporations were the ones that were just
yeah,
like in it for themselves and putting money in their pocket. And then I look at
yeah.
big companies now and I'm like, oh, you're doing the same thing. Like you're
Yeah,
the same.
yeah,
You're just not making us eat people in Soylent Green, but like you're selling us the Soylent Green right now.
yeah, 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 yeah. Ironically, Charlton Heston doing that one for you. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I think uh the parallax view. I thought the same thing. I saw
Mhm.
that recently. The conversation. The 70s is really like a precursor to like here it's coming. Like here's all this organization happening behind the scene, and it really does dictate more of your life and the cultural markers of your life than you think. I remember this specifically. This story started in my head, I think, because of really it was right after 9/11 that I started like really spinning it because Joe Buck's speech. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm.
After I think it was a week after 9/11 when they
Okay.
resumed baseball games, and Joe Buck like just comes out here and he's we're here to answer the question, should we be here? Should we be playing baseball at a time like this?
Oh
Yes. And
yeah.
everyone's like, yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember being like, well, wait a minute, why? I was like, but you didn't say why. You didn't, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of did, but a lot of platitudes in it. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is a top-down effort to like restart. Like, nope, go to Disneyland, go do all these things. And
Yeah.
there was a pocket of time after 9/11 when I would go into New York City and people were really like, I don't know, it's like there's a social facade was gone, and people are really
Mm.
just talking, how are you? Are you doing okay? Like, strangers on the street really being empathetic.
Yeah.
It was a post-trauma kind of landscape where like I saw like you kind of see what happens when you take away all of these like social norms that are actually barriers to empathy.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting, and there was a moment there where I'm like, this actually might make us change in a way that might even be like positive for us and
Mm.
healthy. And then yeah, when all the stuff reactivated, the sports, the Oscars, all of
Yeah.
that stuff, I felt it go away. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. There's
Mm.
something, in that I think I
Yeah.
wanted to explore. Yeah.
So where
Maybe.
is Powerscape now? Like you've got the first issue out. What's the
Hmm.
status of the second issue? Like how do people
Uh,
find the story?
so our amazing artist Stefan Toshev is wrapping up issue 2 pages right now as we speak. We have a wonderful letterer, Jeffrey Ellis, who is part of the Cloudscape Comics co-op. I want to give a shout out to here in
Mm.
Vancouver. A great group of people, and he's working on the lettering for it right now. And Cindy Leong, who's based in Toronto, is going to be our graphic artist, and she's putting together her work. So after those phases, and once we finish the cover, we'll be done. My hope is by the end of the month,
Okay.
and then we'll be ready to release that on our Patreon, as well as we're local here in Vancouver, and I'm working on getting us into other cities. We're in Albuquerque right now at Atomic Zombie
Okay.
and the Age of Comics.
Mm.
Awesome spots. Awesome spots. I think I just said one of their names wrong. I'm gonna uh, just gonna make sure I know, because they were really, really, really awesome places. Uh, and I'll figure it out. But yes, and then here in Vancouver, we're in pretty much all the comic book stores. Astro Zombies
Okay.
in Albuquerque. Uh, Great dudes, really, really amazing store. Albuquerque has an incredible comic book community, and
Hmm.
yeah, we're just starting out. We just successfully got our Kickstarter finished as well, which helped us speed up the process, and we're just going to pivot right into issue 3
Nice.
after that. Yeah, and then my goal is after 4, we'll put together a graphic novel of
Okay.
everything, of all of it put paperback of all they put together.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll just keep going. Just see
That's great.
how long these wheels stay on.
And I do have the Patreon linked in the episode
Thank you.
description. So if you're watching and or listening to this now or in the future at some point, you can go to that Patreon link and get all caught up so that
Yeah.
you stay connected that way. I've also got the socials that you shared. What were those? I've got your Bsky and your Instagram also in the description, so that if you're on those social media sites, you can easily keep up that way as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, sir.
I am checking all the things. Those are the high points. That's the high stuff. I didn't, it's not Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Back in the day. That was an interesting. Yeah. I was a corrupt Chicago cop that was trying to weasel somebody into going into our car where we take them away and do bad things to them. I think it was during the time travel. The time travel times. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Tough shoot day. Really, really great, but great set. Good people. Brandon Ralph, right? What is this? Brendan Rausch. He was great. He was a really awesome stand-up guy, and I believe he was like the SAG deputy or something at the time, and was just sort of guiding them all through another round of awful budget cuts that Warner Brothers was thrusting on everybody.
Always.
But as always, yeah. No, but I was it was interesting. I when I came to Vancouver, I fell into a lot of acting work right off the bat, and I enjoyed that time. I kind of cut my momentum early because I had to work for a visa at the same time in order to earn my permanent residency. And I was, my last few roles, I was like, this feels like 45% of me, and I hate that. I don't like to put acting work out there that's like, not what I think is up to snuff. So I just told myself, I'm not gonna do this until I finish, until like I don't need to work for my immigration status. And I had it easy. I mean, talk about, it is really hard to go through an immigration process of any kind. Shout out to people who do that. And I had a very easy version, and it was still like I can't do all these things I want to do in my life, so I had to put it off for a while. But I'm kind of back. We'll see. I got a couple irons in the fire. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, Donal, I appreciate you like sharing all the things. I'm not done with you yet, just because I'm done with my notes. I got two things that I want to do. The first is we're just going to pose, and I'm going to take a screenshot and use that as a YouTube thumbnail. So we'll do that. And then, last looks, final touches. Why does my hair always...
This ceiling light, God. Don't do podcast interviews. Don't do podcast interviews at work. Never do it.
So, all right. Well, I'll count us down here. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Cool. And then the other thing, I always love what people think about when I do that. Like when I do those poses, it seems like everybody has a different thing that they are like, crap, I don't have any props. The other thing is what I warned you about before we came live is I love doing this show because I get to talk with creators that have all different walks of life, all different experiences, all different geolocations, like globally. I think I've talked to people on almost every continent at this point, which is just the coolest damn thing. Like I never expected it. And so I'm never going to take that for granted. But as part of just the recognition and honestly celebration of all of those differences is also recognizing that we shared this love of comics. And so to lean into those differences, I just like ending every stream with turning the microphone over to my guests. So if there's anything you want people to hear, it could be a sales pitch for Powerscape. It could be something completely unrelated about like why Legends of Tomorrow is one of the best DC shows that they ever made. I don't care about the content. I just want to make sure that you've got some space to share anything that you want people to hear directly from you. So the floor is yours.
Oh wow! All right. I mean, well, yeah. First thing I'll do is plug for sure Powerscape Comics, Powerscape_comic for Instagram and Patreon. Like we said, check us out there to see what stores we're coming to. But aside from that, I mean, I'm very grateful to do a story. I'm very grateful to spin it. I guess all I'll say is for everybody out there who is not sure how to start, if you have your own stories you want to tell, you know, the traditional systems of film and TV and comics and really everything is kind of just sort of shattering before our eyes, and it can be very scary. But I think it's an amazing time to just do something because we really, you know, our mainstream is not really a thing anymore, and I think there's an immense amount of freedom in that almost. And never worry about a lot of eyeballs on your work. Worry about fundamentally changing somebody with your work because you know, you'll fundamentally change somebody walking down the street and saying hello to them maybe. You don't know what your impact will be in the world, and so you know, treat it as the good work. It's strong work. It's sacred work. I think it's needed. It's intensely needed in our society. And people think we're oversaturated with stories. I think we're oversaturated with content, but I think content is different from story. And I think you know, knowing the difference between that, knowing what it is you're truly investing your heart and soul in, yeah, I think that's needed out there right now. So get to it, and that's it. That's all I'll say.
Perfect. Perfect. That's so naturally in line with all of the things that I feel with creating and making art too. So,
Oh,
Donal,
awesome.
I appreciate your time. Hang tight. I got logistics for you after we end. But for everybody
Thank
else,
you.
thanks for tuning in and checking out another live stream and watching or sharing with your networks. If you want to do that and do the YouTube thing and do like click the buttons, I don't care. Just enjoy and make art and comics because that's really what I want you to do. So now it's time for the tagline. What's a good show without a good tagline? This one's mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics and make some art because it's good for you. We're out of here. And then always dance.